So, hello. I thought I'd come on today and just have a look at one of the major energy themes, major planetary alignments that's coming up at the moment, which is actually quite powerful. And in fact, it starts today. Mars enters Gemini today, 20th of August 2022. So this is an opportune time to be able to talk about this. Now, Mars is a planet that moves reasonably through the astrology chart. It normally sits in a sign within the zodiac for about 2 months, and then it moves on to the next one. But what is happening here at this particular point in time, and why a powerful time, is that Mars is actually sitting in Gemini for approximately 31 weeks, nearly 8 months. And so what it does is it goes into Gemini, then it goes retrograde on the 30th of October, and then stays retrograde until the 12th of January 2023, and then it moves forward again at that particular time. So it actually spends a lot of time in that retrograde phase. And when we're in that retrograde phase, that's a time when we're actually really reflecting, renewing what's going on, and also really looking within as well in terms of the energy that Mars in Gemini is actually bringing. So we're really having that self reflection time as well. So the things that really come together in terms of what we're actually looking at, and what I've titled this is Words Have Power, because Gemini is all about words. It's about thoughts. It's our ideas. It's our way we communicate, the way we listen and share information, the way we collect and take information in as well, and also who we socialize with. Gemini energy is actually very light. It's very playful. It's fun. It's a bit cheeky, almost a bit mischievous in some ways. So it's a very light sort of energy, and it just likes to dance around. It likes to get into lots of ideas, likes to look at lots of different things, and then it wants to move forward. So it just wants to, like, Gemini really just is wanting to communicate and just pull together all the information, really. And that's the most important thing. And because it's ruled by Mercury, which is an air sign, it's very, very mental, so it just wants to move forward and be very, very light. And so, in a sense, also because its ruler, Mercury, is the ruler of Gemini is Venus. This is also a planet that's all about love. So Venus wants us to ensure our words, thoughts come from a place of love, come from a place of harmony, come from a place of cooperation and balance, and express beauty and the lovely things of life as well. So Mars is a very, very different sort of energy. Mars is very fiery. And so it has like a real strength, a sense of that fiery fighter spirit, that warrior energy. And Mars is all about the will, the individual will, because it's opposite Libra, which is about our relationships with other people. So it's all about ourselves. It's about our physical energy, our strength, our drive. And so Mars is very much about wanting to triumph and get what we want, really, and make that happen. And it fights for what it feels is important. Mars energy can be very, very can be leadership energy. It's very, very powerful, very helpful. It helps us drive and move forward in things that we need to do. And it says, look, if there are obstacles, I'm going to climb those obstacles. I'm going to get there in the end. And sometimes it comes up against adversity, but at the same time, it's very courageous in how it needs to move forward. So it's all about getting together and actually making those things happen. So when we have this together, there are choices here that we're making. And so, because the Gemini energy is all about duality, it's the twins and the lovers in the tarot, which is all about choices too. So it's about that duality of, are we choosing the light or the dark, the good or the bad? And we need to really look at how are we upgrading our choices, and Mars sort of says to us, why are you making those choices? Are they the best choices? And is this basically moving you forward? Because Mars, with that warrior spirit, really wants to move us forward and make things happen. So it can be also asking us to look at our words. Can they be negative or positive? But not only how we're talking to other people, but also how we speak to ourselves, which is really, really important. So are the words of self-talk that we use, are they loving? Are they kind? Are they appreciative of the things we do? Do they lighten? Do they lighten ourselves? Do they lighten other people? Or do they leave people with a heavy sort of sense within themselves, because words really do have power. And my teacher, Grandmaster Choa, who was my spiritual teacher, would always say that you need to focus on your words, because once you say those words, they do have power, but they also can't be taken back. So if they're words that are unkind or in any way leave someone feeling with a negative thought, that they're things that someone is left with, which is really, really powerful. So sometimes it's really important to really stop yourself, particularly when I know I do, when I'm in a space where perhaps I'm feeling very emotional, very upset with someone, or there's some sort of conflict. And I need to really just stop myself and really just breathe. Just breathe and just stop, put my hand on my heart, and actually just say to myself, look, let my words be, let the people hear my words, but at the same time, let they be words of kindness, compassion and assertion, not aggression, which is really, really important. And whilst I can't always control, like the message I give, if I control myself in coming from that very positive, peaceful place, then at least I'm actually doing something quite constructive in that sense. So one of the things that can sometimes happen at this time also is that words can be really triggering. So sometimes people can say things to you, which actually trigger you in some way or make you feel upset. So maybe a time to be aware of these things as well. Mars asks you to look. Gemini asks you look at the choices you make to push yourself mentally and build and affirm your strength, or where you could be limiting yourself by telling yourself, for example, what you can't do rather than what you can do. So where could you push yourself a bit more? Because sometimes we can get into that space where we start to maybe doubt or feel that we're not able to achieve the things we want to. And so we start to ask ourselves questions about whether or not that's possible. Sometimes that's a healthy thing as long as it's done in a constructive and positive way, which is not about beating ourselves up at all. Gemini, as I said, also likes to ask questions. So it's a very curious sign. It wants to gather all the information. So are you asking empowering questions? Are you affirming what you're learning? Are you asking, how can I prove things? How can I do things differently? How can I serve? How can I make the world a better place? Because these are all the really important questions you can be asking at this particular point in time. Gemini also loves to learn. Gemini is a great learner as well as a great teacher, can be a great mentor as well. So Gemini wants to spread information. It's a great communicator. So what information it's saying at this time, what information are you taking in as well? Because sometimes we have to be careful of some of the information and the sources we receive our information from. I'm not sure about those of you listening, but I know for me, sometimes listening to the news and some of the things I hear can be extremely one-sided and quite negative and critical. So in a sense, I sometimes do tune out to some of those things. So the messages I want to be hearing, the information I want to be bringing in is uplifting news, things that are more positive. And it doesn't mean that I'm unrealistic, but it says that I suppose I want to bring in more balance rather than constantly be hearing the negative and the destructive things of what people do, which is really important. So with all of this energy going on at the moment, we have all this energy around, all this mental energy, asking questions, wanting to delve more into things. Mars is really wanting us to get focused around all of this, because Mars, with that warrior energy, is very much one pointed. It's the warrior. It gets things done. It's the pioneer, the leader. So in a sense, when you're sitting in those positions, and that's the energy of what you're sitting in, you can't always be scattered and all over the place. So Mars is very much saying, where are you going with all of this? What are we doing? How are we reflecting on our thoughts and words and actions? And what are we choosing in terms of our focus? And how are we actually starting to make those things come together in terms of achieving that focus as well? So if our focus is love and kindness and self-improvement, are we feeding ourselves the information and the thoughts and the words and gathering information which actually moves us forward in that general direction? Or are we still buy into negative images or negative, areas as well, because in a sense we need to be moving, moving our consciousness as well. And in this way, we are growing our consciousness. We're developing. And the more we do this, the more we start to become one pointed about what our thoughts and actions and words are, the more we actually start to then, raise our frequency as well, because we sort of almost disentangle ourselves from the low level energies that are holding us back, and what, thinking about also what habits do we want to introduce, within ourselves that actually help move us forward. So is it that we want to not only meditate, but also use things like affirmations, um, perhaps use things like chants, because for the example, the Om chant is beautiful because it just really clears the energy. So sometimes when I'm feeling like it's all a bit much, I'll just chant Om, maybe 3, 4, 5 times, take a deep breath, and it allows us just to really, really bring into perspective. And when I'm feeling like I have to say something that's very powerful and important, I'll also drop into that. So whatever message I'm giving is coming from that place of complete peace, um, a sense of purpose, and also a sense of, I think, personal responsibility. So my words are actually, integrating with what I'm actually wanting to be and who I'm wanting to be, because that's also really important in terms of moving into that higher frequency for all of us as well, that we actually start to walk our talk, and that we don't just talk, but we actually start to then match that with our actions as well. So this is a very powerful time when all of those things come into perspective. And certainly when, words do have power, and our thoughts have power, and our actions and what we bring into our mental space also has power, because these things can also help us in terms of what we're wanting to manifest next. So I thought to just finish this little section off, I would just pick a couple of cards just to help us. Now, one of the cards that I did pick from the Carl Gray's deck, the Gateway of Light Activation, is the first one I picked is the angelic frequency. And today's actually been a really powerful day, because this is the second time I've chosen a card for one of these videos that has, angels in it. So obviously there's a lot of angels around all of us at this time, but possibly also around me as I give these messages. But in a sense, this angelic frequency is also where we're actually moving to, and it's where we're actually safe. Where there's also a psychic connection, and that psychic connection is also mental in a sense, because as we start to clear and really reflect on our words and the way we communicate, etc., and that communication is also not just with ourselves and with other people, but also with our higher power as well. Then we bring in that really strong sense of connection to the angels and the other beings, the other positive benevolent beings within our galaxies as well, which actually bring us really strong messages, which then allow us to think about how we also inspiring and uplifting other people, because this is something that we can actually do. And when we speak from that frequency of that angelic, loving, beautiful space, we can then uplift people, and we can bring great joy, great love into their world, simply about the words we use, by the kindness, the compassion. Because no matter who we are, we actually feel the energy behind the words that people use. And that's really, really important to remember. So even if we say one thing, but if our energy behind it doesn't mirror what we're actually speaking about, and again, that's that duality. We have to, Gemini, we have to start really reflecting on, are my words actually really resonating and coming from a place where I'm really coming from, or I'm just using words that I just think I should be using. Because when we come from that space, that is when we really and truly connect with our angel, with higher power. And then the messages we speak become incredibly powerful, and they can uplift and inspire and help so many people in so many different ways, which is very exciting for all of us. And the tarot card I chose from Radley's deck, Radley Valentine's deck, the Angel Wisdom, again the Angel Wisdom Tarot, is the Lovers card. So it could be, again, like the card can be about relationships and the loving words we use, within our relationships and with, our significant other, our partner, all the people in our family and the relationships we choose to be from. But it could also be, around making choices around, that come from a very loving space. So also remembering that when we come from that loving space, when we touch our heart, when we come from, that space of that beautiful green energy, which is healing as well as loving, then we can actually inspire, and we can actually bring people together, and we can also bring parts of ourselves together, because if those words are loving and inspirational, we can bring those parts of ourselves, that divine masculine, that divine feminine, together, so that we become much more integrated, much more whole, and we then become a more loving, compassionate, soulful being who can actually contribute, whatever it is that we're designed and here to contribute to our planet, as well as ourselves and the people around us and our communities as well. So this is a very, very powerful time. So reflect on this. As I said, Mars goes into Gemini today. So this is a time of great reflection and great depth, and will be there until next year. So I hope these messages have brought you some inspiration today. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything. So sending you lots of love and light today, and many blessings as you go through your day. Thank you. Goodbye.